Hi guys, today I'm making this video to discuss with you all the provisions with regard to claiming of GST refund of the accumulated ITC. The ITC can be accumulated on account of various reasons, one of which is inverted duty structure. So what is inverted duty structure? The inverted duty structure means a scenario in which the GST rate on our purchase is more than the GST rate of items on the items which we supply. For example, if we purchase our raw materials or inputs at a higher rate, that is the rate of 12%, and our supplies are at the rate of 5%, in that case, we might have ITC accumulated in our credit ledger. And here in this video, we will understand the process to claim a refund of the ITC that has been accumulated on this reason. So while studying with this, we will go through the provisions with regard to the refund as per the CGST Act, the section 54 of CGST Act, what it says on the provisions of refund, the timelines which you need to follow, that is the time within which we can apply for the refund, the amount of refund which we can claim, and then the formula for the refund uses some terms. So we'll understand the definition of those terms, the conditions we ought to fulfill before filing the refund application. Then we'll understand the process of online process for the refund application, and then the timeline followed and the process to be followed by the department. So first of all, we'll take up the section 54 of CGST Act. Section 54 subsection 1 says any person claiming refund of any tax and interest, if any paid on such tax or any other amount paid by him, may make an application before the expiry of 2 years from the relevant date. Please note it says the expiry of 2 years and then it says from the relevant date. In such form and manner as may be prescribed. The application can be made within 2 years, and the definition of relevant date we'll discuss in the next slide. Subsection 5 says if on receipt of any such application, the proper officer is satisfied that the whole or part of the amount claimed as refund is refundable, he may make an order accordingly, and the amount so determined shall be credited to the bank account of the applicant. Well, the timelines to be followed. Section 54(1) says the application has to be made within 2 years of the relevant date. So now what is relevant date? Explanation to section 54 defines the term relevant date. However, the relevant date's definition has been amended with effect from 1st Feb 19, and that has created a bit of confusion. So in this case, we'll cover both the old definition and the new definition and try and understand the implication of both of these provisions. The relevant date, the old provision was something like this. It says the relevant date is the end of the financial year in which such claim for refund arises. For example, if we are claiming a refund for the month of December, the end of financial year will be 31st March 18, and hence 2 years from 31st March 18 is 31st March 20, and hence as per the old provision, the refund for the month of December 17 would have been claimed up to 31st March 20. The new provision, which came from 1st Feb 19, says the relevant date is the due date for furnishing of return under section 39 for the period in which such claim for refund arises. Now in this case, the due date for furnishing of return for the month of December 17 is 28th of January 18. So 2 years from 20th of January 18 is 20th of January 20. So what do we do for December month? Can we claim refund till 20th January 20 itself? Or can we go ahead up to 31st March 20 is a debatable question. Let's go ahead and further discuss on the same. So the question is till when can we file refund application for the month of December 17? There are two school of thoughts with regard to the same. The first school of thought says any refund applied on or after 1st Feb 19, the new provision would be applicable. So it doesn't take into consideration whether it is a refund for the month of January 19, that is before the amendment date or anything, but it says if you file any application on or after 19, the new provision would be applicable. So if we follow this school of thought, the last date for the month of claiming refund for the month of December 17 will be 20th of January 20. The second school of thought says any refund applied for the period pertaining to February 19 and after, the new provision would be applicable. However, for any refund applied for the period before February 19, the old provision would be applicable. That means for January 19, the due date will be 31st March 21. And for December 17, an example taken in this case, the due date will be 31st March 20. That is, the old provision would be applicable. So there are two school of thoughts in it. So now if we go ahead with some case laws, there's a case law of WNS Global Services Private Limited, judgment given by the Honorable Tribunal, the Mumbai Tribunal, which says a law cannot be treated retrospectively because it relates to the past action. A law which takes away or impairs the vested rights acquired under existing laws, or creates a new obligation, or imposes a new duty, or attaches a new disability in respect of a transaction already passed alone, is called a retrospective legislation. So even this provision, I'll say, is a retrospective provision or retrospective amendment for the period up to January 19. Also, this judgment has been upheld by the Bombay High Court, by the Honorable Bombay High Court. Also, we have a judgment on various writ petitions filed with the Kolkata High Court. Though those writ petitions were filed with regard to the case of Trans 1, that is filing of Trans 1 to claim the input of our previous laws. But the judgment over here can also be applied in our case. The judgment said something like this: a procedural law should not take away the vested rights of the persons that are provided to them by law. So if I have a right of claiming a refund, only a procedural law will not take away my right. Accordingly, considering the above judgments of the Honorable Kolkata and the Mumbai High Court, it can be debated in the favor of the point that a procedural law should not take away the vested rights of persons that are provided to them by law, and moreover, the time limit for filing the refund application cannot be applied retrospectively to the period after which the amendment has come. Though we can have a debate on these point of view in the appellate forum, but if we have time, we should go ahead and file within the provisions, as per the provisions of the amended law, to be on a safer side. Now, the calculation of the allowable refund, how much is the amount of refund which we can actually claim? The maximum refund amount is equals to the turnover of inverted rated supply of goods and services divided by the adjusted total turnover, which we'll discuss in the next slide, into net ITC. Again, this we'll discuss in the next slide. This figure, these three things will give us amount. From this amount, we need to reduce the tax payable on such inverted rate of supply of goods and services, and the amount which comes after reducing it will be the maximum refund which we are eligible for. So definition of net ITC. Circular number 79/53/2018 dated 31st December 18, which says net ITC includes only ITC on inputs and not on services and capital goods. Thus, though we can claim ITC on service and capital goods, but we cannot claim the same for applying the refund. Point number 14 of circular states the same. Now, let's see the definition of adjusted total turnover. It means the sum total of the value of the turnover in a state or a union territory, excluding the turnover of services, and the turnover of zero rated supply of services and non-zero rated supply of services, but excluding the value of exempt supplies other than the zero rated supplies and the turnover of supplies in which refund has already been claimed under sub-rule 4A or 4B or both, if any, during the relevant period. Now, I said earlier, there are some conditions which you need to fulfill before filing the refund application. All the GSTR 1 and the GSTR 3B should have been filed, and if your GSTR 1 is being filed on a quarterly basis, your refund for that particular period, if you are filing return quarterly, has to be applied for only after that quarter's return has been filed. Now let's study the process of the online process of application. First, we need to log into the GST portal, go to services, refund, application for refund. Then select the refund type, click on refund on account of ITC accumulated due to inverted tax structure. Click on the financial year for which the refund is to be selected or the refund is to be claimed. Select the period, that is the month from and the month to which the refund is to be claimed. Click on the create refund application. A question will pop up. Do you have any refund claim for the selected period? Click on yes. The GST RFD 01 form will open. Fill the computation sheet as per the formula and the maximum refund amount allowable will automatically come. Now please note over here, the refund can be claimed under any head, that is whether it be CGST or SGST or IGST as per your requirement. But then there is a condition, there are two conditions with regard to the maximum amount allowable under a particular head. Either it can be the minimum amount of either the amount available on credit on the date of filing the application or the amount available in credit for the period for which the refund is being claimed and the minimum amount of which can be claimed as refund under that particular head. Suppose your refund allowable is rupees 100 and you wish to claim the same first in SGST. Your current SGST balance is rupees 80. However, the SGST balance in the month for which you are claiming the refund was only 60. So you can claim currently only rupees 60 as SGST refund and the balance 40 you may claim from SGST, from CGST or IGST or both, but subject to these two conditions. Then you need to select a bank account number. All the bank accounts which you have shown in the GST portal will be directed over here and you can select any one in which you want to give the refund and then you're ready to submit the application. Please note, before submit the application, you also need to upload a statement 1A. Statement 1A contains the details of all the purchases made by you, the details of all supplies done by you. For filling those details, you need to download the offline utility, fill it and then generate a JSON file and then upload it. Only once the 1A is uploaded, then only you will get the option to submit the application. Apart from 1A, there are various other documents and declarations which you need to submit while filing the refund application. You need to upload the copy of GSTR 2A of the relevant period. The GSTR 2A contains the auto-populated details of all purchases made by you. However, there might be circumstances in which some of the parties have not shown all purchases in their GSTR 1 and hence they are not reflecting in your GSTR 2A. In those cases, you need to upload the self-certified copies of the invoices. Some declarations which you need to file are declaration under second and third provision to section 54.3, declaration under section 54.3.2, undertaking in relation to section 16.2c and section 42.2, statement 1 under rule 89.5, and a self-declaration under rule 89.2l if amount claimed does not exceed 2 lakh rupees. However, if the amount exceeds rupees 2 lakh rupees, then a CS certificate is required as per rule 89.2m. This is the sample of the statement 1A, which contains the details as has been explained by me, that is details of invoices of inward supplies received, details of invoices of outward supplies issued. Please note, there are some drop-down menu and accordingly for some items, you need to only choose from those drop-down menu and you cannot type the items. And then there is a master circular, circular number 125/44/2019, which speaks on the process and timelines to be followed by the department. Once we have filed the application, deficiencies to be communicated, deficiencies if any found by the department will be communicated to us within 15 days in form GST RFD 03. And then we will need to file a fresh application. Please note, the time limit for fresh application should be within the time limit as mentioned in section 54.1, that is 2 years from the relevant date. And once we file a fresh application, the same will be checked, and if there are no further deficiencies, an acknowledgement will be received in GST RFD 02 within 15 days of the generation of ARN. Similarly, in the first instance, if we didn't have any deficiencies, straight away a GST RFD 02 will be received by us within 15 days of generation of ARN. And then the GST RFD 02 is received, no further deficiency memo can be issued by the department for the said application. If the application, the amount we have claimed in the application is fully admissible, then the officer will pass the order in GST RFD 06 and will get our refund as per the refund order in RFD 05 and the amount shall be electronically credited to the bank account of the application. However, there might be circumstances in which our refund is not fully admissible. There might be partial disallowance or might be a full rejection of the amount of claim. In that case, the officer I'll give you a show cause notice in form GST RFD 08, and we need to give our response to the same in GST RFD 09 within a period of 15 days of the receipt of the notice. And then considering our reply, the official shall issue a form RFD 06 sanctioning the amount of refund which he thinks is admissible, or reject the same partially or wholly. Whatever amount of claim is rejected, the credit ledger will be increased by the given amount. Please note, once we had submitted the application for GST refund, our credit ledger will be reduced, had been reduced by the amount of refund claimed. And so now if something is been rejected, our credit ledger will be increased by the given amount. Well, thank you guys. I hope I have been able to clear all your concerns with regard to the provisions of claiming GST refund for the accrued IDC due to the inverted tax structure. And I hope going forward we'll come up with more videos on various GST and other tax topics. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.